And welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Troy Lett in the house, everything XRP. So please, if you guys have a question for Troy, please write your comments your questions underneath the comment area underneath the XRP logo on the wall, or raise your hand and I will unmute your mics at some point in this podcast and you can ask Troy your question. Also, too, please, everybody, be careful who you listen to, who you follow, and what you're putting into your mind. It's the wild, wild west out there. And I'm telling you, like you guys know, I sit in some of these chats, lives, whatever, and it's wild, everybody. So please tighten up that circle, everybody. Stick and stay with the 3 to 5 people that haven't led you wrong through the course of your journey here, because more than likely they're going to get you through it. Here we're so close to the end of this, so just hang tight, everybody. Just stay strong in that mind. If you have to pull away, do so and reset your mind and get out of it. Because I'm telling you, if you're not strong in your mind, I can see where people can steer you the wrong way. We are seeing a lot of that happen. A lot of these so-called Trumpsters, I voted for Trump. Now I don't like Trump. They're burning the hats, all this stuff. Listen, if you guys, like Derek Johnson always says, if you don't trust Donald Trump, then I don't know what to say on that, because he is definitely a man of promises kept, promises delivered. So please, everybody, stay out of the noise. We are watching the art of war play out right in front of our noses. So please be careful. I can't tell you that enough. Also, too, everybody, if you get a random text, somebody claiming to be me, please be sure you block and report them. Know that I will not randomly reach out to you and ask if you're ready for the scare event, money, crypto, anything like that. So if you get something like that, please block, report, let me know so I can make sure they're not. Also, to everybody, if you come in late to the podcast, you can always follow the podcast host on the podcast host, or you can follow the podcast on the podcast host, or go to the social medias and check them out there, because I do post them everywhere. We are being listened to in over 100 countries. So please, everybody, check it out, share with a family or friend that is looking to maybe know the truth, they're teeter-tottering, whatever it may be. The podcast hosts are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. And then also, too, everybody, I just recently got over on Locals. So if you guys have a Locals account, I am on Locals as well. And that is the Revival of America, and it does have the verified check mark, so that is my brand new account. Apparently, Locals and Rumble, I think, are kind of teamed up together, so I am over on Locals now. The social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook, at Jenny_Dreed X, at J Dreed Rumble, at J Dreed True Social, at J Dreed Instagram, the Revival of America right here on Telegram, the Revival of America YouTube, and at the official J Dreed over on TikTok. And the 3 that aren't verified are TikTok, True Social, and YouTube. I'm still waiting for those verifications. Also, too, everybody, if you have a story or a journey to share, please reach out to me at troasubmissions@yahoo.com. We will get your story, your journey heard on the podcast. And remember, it's going to be you, your voice, that tells the story, not me, because it's more authentic coming from the actual person. So please, everybody, I highly encourage you to do that. A lot of people are feeling more comfortable in doing it. So that is super awesome. And a lot of these stories are absolutely amazing that I'm hearing. Again, that's troasubmissions@yahoo.com. And if you have just a general question, or you want to get in touch with John Baxter and his staff, you can email me at my regular email, therevivalofamerica@yahoo.com, and I will respond to you there also, because I created the submissions email for you guys because a lot of some people's submissions got buried in my everyday email. So it got a little bit challenging for me to kind of go through those and find them. And then, everybody, last but certainly not least, go check out the website. It is, the merch store is up. We're adding and we're deleting things to that on a daily basis, or excuse me, weekly basis. You can get the newsletter, sign up for that. That is free. You'll get the latest updates on the podcast, as well as a weekly show lineup. That is therevivalofamerica.com. So check it out, everybody, and be sure you get on that newsletter. And without any further ado, we do have Troy Lett in the house. He typically gives us about an hour of his time. So please, everybody, don't be afraid to ask your questions to Troy. He is here for us, and hopefully he's got some great news for us. What's up, Troy?
Hi, Jenny. Hope you're doing well. Everybody on here is doing well. Crypto Week in the House of Representatives, they didn't pass the bill yesterday, but I think that was on purpose so they could go home and load up on XRP. Thursday, the SEC is has a closed door meeting, another sunshine meeting, and this meeting is on. They're going to take a vote, and whether or not they're going to drop this appeal for Ripple, and I think they will drop that. And ironically enough, it's on a Thursday, and if you guys have been listening to me, you know who Mr. Poole is. Mr. Poole put a Thursday in a heart on one of his drops. Oh, it's been a couple of years ago, but Thursdays are generally very special for XRP and Ripple. Usually we get good news on Thursday, and of course, when we get good news, it usually drops. But let's hope this time it doesn't happen that way. We've got a couple other things going on. This Genius Act that didn't pass yesterday, but I think it's going to pass today. And what that is a stablecoin bill. And really, there's USDC and there's RLUSD and there's Tether. Tether is not compliant in any way, shape, or form. And I think once Tether goes down, you're going to see Bitcoin go with it. Because what they do is they print Tether basically out of thin air. And when they want to raise the price of Bitcoin, they buy Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheet. So really, they're counterfeiting Tether. It's never been audited. They do an internal audit. Well, that's like me auditing myself. I could tell you whatever I want to tell you. So I think with this new Genius Act that comes into play here pretty quick, I think Tether's going to go away, and you're going to see RLUSD skyrocket. I think they're loading the rocket ship right now with fuel. So I think Donald Trump's going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and probably the #1 crypto out there that very few know about is XRP. So if you're an XRP holder, if you have XRP in your bag right now, you are of the 1% of the population of the world that owns XRP, because really nobody really knows about it. It's super fast. Most people don't know how our financial system works. Right now, it's called the SWIFT system. If you want to send money, you have to send it through the SWIFT system. And all these other countries, if they want to do business internationally, and that's slowly changing, but at this point, you have to have American dollars in order to do transaction nationally. And what that means is each country has to have what's called a Nostro Vostro account. And all those accounts in all those countries have dollars in them. So say if I want to do business with China, China would have to have a Nostro Vostro account with money in it. So that's because it takes so long to do a transaction right now. It takes 4 or 5 days to do a transaction overseas. And what XRP does is it sits in the middle, and each one of these countries will have their own stable coin. And what they'll do is they'll buy XRP and they'll send it to whatever country they want to do business with, and it'll come out in that country's currency. It's a bridge currency. XRP is going to be the reserve currency of the world, I believe. That being said, I just want to reiterate, I am not a financial advisor, and I'm about 12 years short of a law degree. So I'd like for you guys to do your own research. I'm just trying to give you what I see coming. There's a couple of bills out there that they packaged these all together yesterday. I think they split them up today. There's a Department of Defense Appropriation Act of 2026. There's a Digital Asset Market Clarity, which hopefully that gets passed today as well, or not passed, but hopefully vote on that. This bill needs to go to the Senate. And then there's the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. I think they'll vote on that as well today, and that'll have to go to the Senate. And the fourth bill is the Genius Act, and I hope they pass that one today, and that one there will go directly to Donald Trump's desk. And I hope if it passes today, Thursday or Friday, I see Donald Trump signing this into law to make America the crypto capital of the world. And just the other day, ProShares, that's a company, the SEC approved their ETF, and it's called UXRP. And you can actually purchase that on Robinhood right now. I'm not saying you need to. I put a little bit of money into it, and let's see what it does. But lots of stuff happening right now. And if you're new to this game, I have bought quite a bit of my XRP on a company called Uphold, and I think it's an outstanding company, and I continue today to buy XRP on Uphold. However, if you're a little bit squirmish about keeping your stuff on an exchange, there's a lot of not your keys, not your crypto. I think Uphold is a little bit different than maybe Coinbase or Kraken or some of them other exchanges. They're very transparent. You can see what they hold on their books. They audit. They're the creator of RLUSD as well. They do audits on their RLUSD monthly, and it's not done by them. It's done by a third party. So they're trying to be very regulated and transparent as far as Ripple goes, and Uphold. Uphold does the same thing. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, there's a couple of other companies out there I'd like to mention. Now, I don't have any affiliation with any of these companies. They're not paying me to say anything. I've never made a dime on this movement. I haven't, not one dime. But one of them is called I Trust Capital. And they just recently came out with an account called the Premium Custody Account. They've had an account where you could go in and buy XRP and keep it in a IRA or a 401k for several years. The reason I didn't go with them several years ago was because they charged a $35 monthly fee. They have since waived that fee. You don't have to pay that $35 anymore. And with I Trust Capital, they've done something that nobody else has done. If you buy XRP or Bitcoin or whatever you buy from I Trust Capital, it's a cash in and cash out. It's a closed loop system. And what that means is you take $100 and you put it in I Trust Capital and you swap it for XRP. If somebody comes along and tries to hack your account, let's just say they do get in and hack your account. The only thing that they can do with that money is to send it back to your bank account. They can't move it to a LEPAL Titan or a Ledger X. So pretty safe, that closed loop system. So if you're a long-term holder, I would suggest maybe I Trust Capital. Now, there's another company out there called Caleb and Brown. And I think Caleb and Brown, it was just recently purchased by another company. I think it's still an outstanding company. But they have what's called Fireblocks over there. And it's a security for your crypto. And I don't know a lot about it. I've just heard a little bit on the influencers with the Caleb and Brown. Now, with Caleb and Brown, they got something special too. They actually assign a broker for you. So anytime you want to do something with your XRP, say you want to move it to a LEPAL or Titan, they'll help you do that. They'll get you an account set up, and like I said, you'll be assigned a broker. And obviously your broker will have to sleep at night. So if you call in at night, you're going to get a different broker than your regular broker. But you'll still be able to talk to a human body, and they'll help you through whatever you're trying to do. They have some security over there as well. You can say, hey, I want to, before we move anything on my account, I want to have a Skype call with you. I want you to be able to see my face before we move anything. So that means if you don't have the ability to Skype and you need some XRP moved, you're just SOL, because that's the rules. You said that you wanted to have a Skype call before you moved anything on Caleb and Brown. And that's just a security deal. Somebody could copy your voice and send it into them and maybe try to move your crypto to a hard wallet. Well, that's a security deal. And another thing, when you're getting on these Coinbase, Uphold, they have something what's called Know Your Customer. They have to ask you a bunch of personal questions so they know who you are. When you're setting up an account on Uphold, let's just say, they're going to have some personal questions. They're going to want a photo ID of you, a selfie. And I've been with Uphold for about 7 years now, and occasionally I'll get a message from Uphold and they'll say they want a new selfie of me, because people obviously change in looks over the course of years. They asked me obviously my address and how I was going to fund my account. And I had to actually take a snapshot of my bank account that I fund my Uphold with. Now, I was very skeptical of that at first, but then I got to thinking, you don't walk into a bank and just set up an account without giving them all your personal information. So you got to kind of look at this as they are banks. Are they trusted? I think Uphold is trusted. Now, I'm not a big fan of Coinbase, and I'll tell you about that later. But is there any questions as of now?
Yeah, I think so. Hang on here, Troy. I'm looking here on the wall. I think we got a few here for you. So let's see. If anybody wants to raise your hand, please feel free to do so, and you can ask Troy your question. But I'll go ahead and read what we have here on the wall for you, Troy. Okay, so this is from Red Hat. It says, what do you see XRP and XLM going to and time frame? I understand this is an opinion, and thank you. That's one part of the question. And then there's a second question too. So go ahead.
Well, if this Genius Act gets passed and the banks start using RLUSD, which runs on the ledger, you know, are we talking about 6 months? Are we talking about a year? Are we talking about 5 years? I could see XRP going to $25 pretty quick. Then you know, $1,000 once everything starts to get tokenized and put on the ledger. And over the course of time, David Schwartz has basically stated that it doesn't make any sense for XRP to be cheap. It doesn't work when it's cheap. He compared it to a hedge fund that wanted to move $50 million because the banks really don't care what it costs. They want it to be cheap to move money. Let's just say XRP was $1 million. They would only need to buy 50 XRP to move that $50 million. That makes pretty good sense. And what people don't understand is when you move an XRP, it burns just a tiny bit of it. So that every time you move it, it makes XRP more valuable because there's getting to be less and less of it on the market. And Arthur Brito has stated that he's a co-founder of Ripple as well. Arthur Brito is, and he has stated that XRP is designed to operate at a minimum of $10,000. So that could happen very quickly. You know, when Bitcoin first came out, it was 7 cents. It's about 120,000 now, and it doesn't work. XRP works. Can you imagine what XRP price is going to be when everybody starts using it? It's going to be incredible. And when Donald Trump said he was going to make a strategic reserve of cryptocurrencies, the very number one listing that he had on there was XRP. It was XRP, Solano, and ADA, which is Solano and Cardano, which is ADA on the ticker on CoinMarketCap. So those were the three that he mentioned first, and then about an hour or two went by, and he retweeted and said, "Oh, and of course Bitcoin and Ethereum." But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like I said before, Tether, when they want to pump up Bitcoin, they just mint Tether out of thin air and buy Bitcoin. You know, a lot of times they'll do it in $1 billion increments. So they pump $1 billion into Bitcoin and it shoots the price way up. And it gets retailers real excited, and they think about, oh my God, I'm missing out. I'm FOMO and fear of missing out. So they go in and they buy crypto and they push the price up even higher. Well, what do these bigwigs do? They sell. When you're buying, they're selling. They're taking profits, and obviously they have the money to move the market. So right now, just in the last few days, Bitcoin went up to 123,000, and they dropped it down to 116,000. That means a bunch of them bigwigs up at the top are cashing in. And here, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was a Satoshi Nakamoto. I don't know if you know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. He's the creator of Bitcoin, supposedly. Nobody knows who this guy is. I think it's actually the NSA that created Bitcoin, and there's 4 or 5 guys that are Satoshi Nakamoto. But anyway, the Satoshi Nakamoto has a big wallet of Bitcoin, and you can watch that on the. I don't know how to do it, but there's people that can watch his wallet, and he hasn't had any activity in that wallet since I believe it was 2011. Well, that wallet recently moved 80,000 Bitcoin onto exchanges like Coinbase, Uphold, Kraken. And what that sometimes means is they're getting ready to sell that Bitcoin. If they pump in 80,000 Bitcoins into the market, it's going to drop Bitcoin like a cannonball from the sky. It would probably drop it down around 20,000. So be very careful when you're dealing with Bitcoin, because that's the one they try to manipulate the most. Like I said before, I think they're loading up the rocket right now with fuel to set that baby free with XRP and RLUSD. We're just waiting on some government regulations, and I think that may happen this week. So strap in, guys. You know, Brad Garlinghouse here about a month ago he tweeted out, lock in. David Schwartz right behind him says, lock in. Well, just yesterday, what did President Trump say when he was climbing up the stairs on Air Force One? Lock in. It's coming. They're changing the financial system is what they're doing. This dollar bill that we have in our pocket is basically worthless. If you look on it, it's a Federal Reserve note. It's not even yours. It's a slave system. We've been under a slave system for many, many years. What's Donald Trump calling for right now? Jerome Powell to be fired. He's going to get rid of the Fed. And who's going to be the next Fed? I believe it's going to be Ripple. Ripple has about 40 billion in escrow, 40 billion XRP in escrow right now. They just filed for a national banking license. So once they get this banking license, they might be one of the biggest banks around if XRP skyrockets. And that's going to be, I believe, our new Federal Reserve. I think that 40 billion XRP will be our Federal Reserve to help our government pay their bills and pay off the national debt. Maybe we just give the debt back to whoever we owe it to and say, here's all the money, all the dollar bills. You can have it all. Get rid of it all. And then we're going to start from a brand new system. What a lot of people don't realize is we can never pay the debt off. In order to pay the debt off, you have to have enough money to pay it. Well, there's not enough money in circulation to pay it. All the money in the world would not pay our national debt down, because what they have to do, I mean, like me loaning you $1,000 and saying I'm going to charge you 9% interest on that money. Well, I print the money. Where do you have to go to get anything above $1,000? You owe me $1,200 now. How are you going to get that? You have to come back to me to get the $200 to pay it. So it's unsustainable, and it's been going on for way too long. And Donald Trump is going to flip the switch and create a brand new financial system. I think we have brand new dollars out there that'll be distributed, and they'll be highly transparent. That none of this nefarious stuff that goes on with Bitcoin and cash. You know, a lot of human trafficking, drugs, all of that stuff. So back to your question. I see XRP just skyrocketing in the next 5 years. Everything will be tokenized. Everything will run on the XRP ledger. Your house will be tokenized. Stocks and bonds. Mr. Fink from BlackRock has stated that everything in the stock market will be tokenized. Real estate will be tokenized. Right now in Dubai, they are tokenizing real estate right now. And what that means is if you want to invest in a piece of property in Dubai, you can. You couldn't before, because how would you invest in a high rise in Dubai? Well, you couldn't. You'd have to be in a partnership with somebody that was building it or something of that nature. They took their second tokenization of a property was on the market for 2 minutes, and 149 countries participated in buying that property. So in the future, if you want to invest in a apartment complex, you'll be able to do that. Or maybe you want to invest in a Picasso or a Rembrandt, you'll be able to do that, because it'll all be tokenized. There won't be just one person that owns that apartment complex or Picasso or the Rembrandt. It'll all be tokenized. So once this XRP ledger gets to moving, that's what gives it value, is it's so liquid. Right now they're working on a payment system for your work. You get paid once a week, twice a week, maybe once a month. Wouldn't it be nice if you just pick up your phone and look at your phone, and if you're at work, you can see that money streaming right into your account? That's what they're working on. And if you're paying taxes, I don't think we'll have to pay taxes much longer. I think there'll be probably a sales tax, 10 to 17%, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that makes it fair. Anybody that buys anything new pays a tax on it. Even the rich, they buy a brand new airplane, they pay tax on that airplane. You buy a used airplane, nope, you don't pay any tax on it, because it's already been taxed. It gets to be more fair. Property tax is ridiculous. I live in Kansas, and I live in a county in Kansas. It's just ridiculous. I pay $6,000 a year on my house in property tax. That's theft. I own the house free and clear. I don't have a loan on it, and I still have to pay $6,000 a year for my property tax.
So real quickly, Troy, said you're kind of talking about that. So this is kind of where we're going to go peer to peer, right? So this is where we're going to eliminate a lot of the middleman, correct?
That is correct. And David Schwartz came out I believe it was yesterday. And those of you who don't know who David Schwartz is, he's the CTO of Ripple. And he patented the distributed ledger technology back in 1988. So he's super smart. He basically came out the other day. He said, they've got 1,700 NDAs, and I think most of them consist of banks. And he came out the other day and said, hey, these banks move too slow. We're not going to make any more partnerships with banks. They're going to become a bank. Ripple is going to become a bank. So, like I said, once they get everything tokenized running on the XRP ledger, you won't be able to afford to buy an XRP. I'd almost guarantee it. So we're really close with this legislation getting passed. And, BlackRock basically stated that the whole stock market, the derivatives market, will be tokenized. Well, what's that going to run on? It's going to run on this distributed ledger technology that Ripple made. So XRP is going to be very, very valuable. Let me touch on XLM just for a second. I don't currently own any XLM, and I'm not saying it's a bad token. I'm not saying not to invest in that. The reason why I don't invest in it is because I don't like Jeb McCaleb. Jeb McCaleb, I've done some research on Jeb. There's very little out there that you can find. You can't tell whether he has siblings or not, who his parents are, anything of that nature. But what he had done in the past, he started a company called 2000 Donkeys, and it was a peer-to-peer information sharing platform. Well, it got hacked, and he decided instead of continuing with it, he sold it to a country out of state or out of the country, because he knew there was a lemon law, and that could come back to bite him in the butt. Well, once he sold it, it got hacked again, and then the people that owned it, they got sued. Well, Jeb didn't get sued because he sold it. And the same thing with Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox was a place where you could trade magic cards in the day. They were kind of like baseball cards that they would trade. The younger generation did a lot of magic cards, and it became very popular amongst them. But Jeb got bored with it, so he kind of let it sit idle. And then Bitcoin came along. So he thought, well, instead of letting it sit idle, I will turn this into a Bitcoin platform. And he did, and it became very successful. But it got hacked one day, and I think Jeb probably knew who hacked it if he wasn't involved in it. But it got hacked for 25,000 Bitcoin. Well, he decided to sell that to a person in Japan. And shortly after the company in Japan got it got hacked for 850,000 Bitcoins. Think about what that would be worth today. A lot of money. And, Jeb McCaleb started Stellar. He needed money to start Stellar. That's kind of the short version of why I don't buy any XLM. If you look at Jeb McCaleb and you take a good hard look at James Antifas, the one that runs Comet Ping Pong, they almost look like brothers. So I stay away from Stellar as much as I possibly can. And then there's the link to the Lobster wallet. Sorry, I stuttered there for a little bit. But anyway, the Lobster wallet is a Stellar wallet. I've been asked a million questions on it, and probably 5-6 years ago, I came out and stated that I wasn't a fan of the Lobster wallet. I'm not saying it's a bad wallet, but there's so many fraudulent coins over there that you have to be very, very careful of what you buy on Lobster, because you'll lose it overnight. But I got heavily thrown under the bus by a lot of people for coming out against the Lobster wallet. But now people are starting to wake up and find out that, hey, he wasn't too far off base there with the scams that are going on Lobster wallet. So do we have any more questions?
Yeah, real quickly, everybody, if you guys don't understand the peer-to-peer, and we're eliminating, and I always say our workforce is going to be 2/3 of what it is now. So it's going to be like the insurance agents, the mortgage companies, all that kind of stuff, the middle people that we have that are collecting all these fees to get you to purchase a house or your car or whatever. So that workforce, the workforce that we're going to be coming into in the near future is going to be, a lot of it's going to be eliminated. Would you agree with that, Troy? Are you there, Troy?
Yes, 100%. The real estate agents out there, the brokers, the title companies, it takes about 30 to 60 days to get a loan and to purchase a house. John Jr., Donald Trump's son I think it was Eric, that came out and stated, And if you wanted to buy a property, and he buys big properties, so it takes a little bit longer. He goes, sometimes it takes 90 days for that transaction to go through. He goes, a lot of times that property's already sold and gone by the time I get my ducks in a row to where I can buy it. Now with the XRP and the XRP ledger, you can buy that within 30 seconds. You don't have to go through all the stuff. Like I said, they're tokenizing real estate in Dubai. And once this gets to roll, and your house will eventually be tokenized. So if you want to sell that house, you'll just go put a sign in your front yard, and somebody will come along and say, hey, I do want to purchase your house. And there'll be a QR code that they'll scan, and they'll purchase your house in 3 seconds. All the title work will be done, and it'll be on there. It's on a smart contract, and you'll write that contract. Say you want $200,000 for this house, and you find out a month goes by and you haven't sold it, and the real estate market is getting hot, and the prices of real estate are going up. So you decide that you want to ask a little bit more for your house. You want to ask $225,000 for your house. You have to write a brand new smart contract, because the contracts that are written and put on the ledger, you cannot change them. They're that way you can go back. Anybody can go back on the ledger and find out all this information. So if you change something on the contract, you need to write a brand new smart contract. And when you sell your house, let's just say you own your house free and clear and you want to sell it, and somebody comes to you and says, hey, I would like to purchase your house, but I don't have the money to purchase your house. Would you consider being the loan on it? And you'd say, okay, I can do that. You write a smart contract on that, and you state in that smart contract how much is going to be paid every month for how many months. Maybe it's a 15-year loan. So once you kick that in and they're living in the house, there's what's called an oracle, which is basically just a fact checker. And they check to make sure that you've made your payment every month. And if you don't make your payment, there's a penalty in the smart contract, and whatever that is, I don't know what it is. But after 15 years of making your payments on time, and there's a token that's created, and the owner of the house will continue to own that house until you paid it off in full. When your house is paid off in full, that token moves from you over to the buyer of the property. So yeah, that's going to cut out a bunch of jobs, and that's going to be for the better, because I don't think we were ever designed to work 40 to 50 hours a week. I think we were designed to maybe take in some of God's creation and travel a little bit and enjoy our family a little bit more, instead of always having to worry about where the next meal's coming from, or am I going to have enough money to pay the rent? That's what this debt slavery has done to us. Is it's put us in debt, and it's put handcuffs on us that we have to go to work 40 hours a week just to survive. And most people anymore, it's not just the husband that's going to work, it's the wife as well, because they can't make it on one income. I remember when I was growing up as a kid, my dad made very little money, and it never failed. Every year we went on vacation, and every winter or every weekend in the summer, we were at the lake. We had a boat, a camper, 2 cars, a pickup. Hell, that's almost impossible today on a one income. And like I said, he didn't make a lot of money, but we had everything we needed, and way more than I have today. And I work my butt off, and my wife works her butt off. It's ridiculous what they've done to us. And we all are still in the mindset up a 9-to-5 job. We got to get up and go grind. But think about it. If you kept most of your money instead of giving it to the government, I mean, you look at a dollar bill, and how many times is that dollar bill taxed once it leaves the Fed? You earn it, you pay a tax on it. You buy something, you pay a tax on it. It's ridiculous. Our government is so wasteful. You know, we're seeing that with the U.S. aid. Well, half of that money, about 90% of that money, was not going to any aid. It was going back to our politicians. Those people need to be out on the courtyard hung, I believe, for what they've done to us. And I think that's coming. I think we're going to see some arrests here pretty soon. You know, Q has talked about arrests. I think that's coming. I think with this Jeffrey Epstein deal going on, you know, Donald Trump is using that as leverage. He knows everything that went on at Epstein Island. He's got all the reports, all the documents. The military knows what happened. And now the Democrats are trying to spin it. But Donald Trump is spinning it on their head. Now they're all up in arms that they're not releasing the list. They're not releasing the information on Jeffrey Epstein. That is going to come back and bite them in the ass. Any more questions?
Yeah. In a huge way. Okay, real quick, okay. So my another question I have for you, Troy, and then Johnny. After he answers my question, go ahead, Johnny L. My question, in your opinion, Troy, do you seem to think that we're going to see maybe before we see a bigger uptick in XRP? Do you think it's gonna, because we're seeing it kind of fluctuate, right? It's been going up here lately, and then it kind of came down, I think, yesterday. But do you think it's going to go down a bit lower before it does that good uptick that we're looking for?
Jenny, I could see XRP being pretty vulnerable if Bitcoin crashes. The whole market's going to crash. But I think if that happens, you're going to see, right after that happens, you're going to see XRP skyrocket. Because it's so liquid, and they're hiding it from you. You don't hear it on the news. There's something in the background going on that a lot of people don't realize what's going on. So to answer your question, I could see it going down, but not for long. And when you're sitting on the sidelines and you're thinking, okay, he's saying it's going to go down, more than likely, if it goes down, you're not going to have a chance to buy it, because the institutions are going to have regulations by then, and they're going to buy it all up off the market. Uphold won't have any to sell you. Coinbase won't have any to sell you. It'll be the people that, let's just say it went to $50, and Jenny says, "Oh my God, that's a lot of money. I need to cash some of it out." So she cashes some of it out, and there'll be a little bit of XRP on Uphold. It'll be snapped up in a heartbeat by the institutions because they need it. We don't really need it right now, but they do. It moves money very fast and efficiency. There was a hedge fund that moved $50 million. Like I said earlier, XRP was 50 cents at the time. So they had to buy $100 million worth of XRP. And each one of those XRPs, when they moved it, burnt just a little bit of it. So that's a lot of burning. And they moved that money in 3 seconds, and it cost them 30 cents to move $50 million. You can't, that's unheard of today. That just doesn't happen. Brad Garlinghouse has stated, and those of you who don't know who Brad Garlinghouse is, he's the CEO of Ripple. And he has stated that the fastest way back then was to move money, was to get the money, put it on an airplane, fly it to wherever you wanted to take it to. That was the fastest way to do it. And that's a lot of people know who Charlie Ward is. That's kind of what he would do. He would fly to, let's just say, Saudi Arabia, and the Saudis wanted a jet, and it cost $250.
Troy,
yeah,
real quickly, we're
yeah.
getting a lot of background feed. You got is that your AC or is that your window? We're hearing a lot of wind.
Sorry about that. Let me roll my window up. I'm sitting here on the side of the road. It's hot, and it's hot.
You're good. It was taking you out. We couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
I was saying moving money. XRP moves it very fast and very efficiently. Charlie Ward, a lot of people know who Charlie Ward is. That's kind of what he did. He was he worked at a hotel in the beginning, and he was a really good money exchanger. So foreign countries would come in, and they'd have Saudi dollars, and he would convert it to American dollars so they could spend it in America. We got very efficient at that. So the Saudis and these rich countries would call him and say, "Hey, we're going to buy a jet, and we need to have you fly over here, pick up the money, and fly it to wherever they're getting their jet and pay for it." See, today they wouldn't have to do that. They could just send them XRP, and it happened in 3 seconds. That's how things are changing. So, yeah, is there any questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Johnny L. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Troy your question.
Yeah, Troy, nice to finally get through to you. I've been following you for about 50 years, since 75. So I have about 763 questions to ask you. And I was wondering how much time you had on this podcast.
Oh, I've got about an hour. You've been following me a long time.
You know it, my brother. Hey, I really enjoy listening to you, Troy. You really know your stuff. So I appreciate you very much. I just thought I'd bring a little levity into our conversation here this morning, but I got like a twofold question. I follow Ariel, and this is one of them's more directed towards you. One might be a little bit in left field, but not much. And he said, and you brought it up earlier in your conversation, when the Genius Act is passed, that we're really close to the RV. So I was wondering if you heard that and what your opinion is on that. And then another thing is, I've got a homeowner that has a foreclosure date of August 14th on a house. In your opinion, are we gonna, because we had the big beautiful bill passed and all this stuff, and then we had a bankruptcy that was on the books for January 15th of 21, I believe. Are people going to be safe with these foreclosures that are coming up? If because I even heard a year ago you could stop paying on your mortgage and everything would be okay. So I was wondering your opinion on those two things. Thank you,
Well, I would
brother.
say to your, I would say to your second question, the wheels of justice grind very slow until they
Okay.
don't. And we're at the point where it don't anymore. They're going to move swiftly from here on out with these crypto bills. These foreclosures, that's just a way for the banks to get rich. The bank, I went through that back in 2008. I had a big development going, and it basically turned me upside down, and they foreclosed on my house. I walked away with my car and my belongings, and that was it. If it wouldn't have been for my parents, I'd have been living under a bridge with 5 kids. So that being said, I think that's going to, we're still going to have to pay for stuff, but there's going to be a different mechanism of doing that, and it'll be a more honest way. Those people that are probably getting foreclosed on, their interest rate probably went up, and some unforeseen job apparatuses that happened. Kind of the way I look at a house, when you build a house, it should be price based. If a house costs $50,000 today, it should cost $50,000 tomorrow, $50,000 3 or 4 years from now. I can see a little bit of fluctuation in that, but some of these places, man, they went up through the roof. My son bought a house in Colorado, but I wouldn't have gave $25,000 for it, but he paid $264,000 for it. I thought he was absolutely nuts. It's 1,200 square foot. He lived in it for about 3.5 years. Of course, he did a little polishing on it, not a lot. He ended up selling that thing for $425,000 in the course of 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
Now, I don't think that shouldn't be right. I just don't see that. When they tokenize everything, I think the prices will stabilize, and you're not going to see that great influx of real estate. Now, there might be some hot markets down in Florida and California, oceanfront property that might have a little bit of a different view on. But now, what was your first question again?
Well, I just want to be clear on what you just shared, Troy. So, do you think these people have a chance? I mean, do you think it's all smoke and mirrors and kind of rhetoric? I mean, haven't these mortgage companies been told through all of this legislation that's passed through President Trump to kind of stand down? Or do you think it'll continue until the announcement of Nassar Jassar? Again, just your opinion.
No, I think people are going to be safe in their home.
Okay.
Once we flip the switch, I think it's over for the banking elite. To those people that are getting foreclosed on, I would highly suggest, and like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but if they can get into some XRP before it skyrockets, that's going to, it's generational wealth is what it's going to be. I look at what I hold on an XRP, and I think my grandkids will someday benefit from that greatly.
So do you
And you
think
talk,
Johnny, real quickly, I've got several other questions here on the wall. I would like to read, and Troy only gives us an hour, so I'm going to read some of these questions on the wall, and then if we have some time, I'll circle back to you. Thank you, Johnny.
Jenny, let me answer
Thank you.
let me answer his first question first. I remembered it. It's about the RV. Yes, I think this is all tied together. I think Donald Trump is the key. He's going to flip the switch when Iraq revalues their currency. He has stated that we own $35 billion worth of Iraqi dinar. Now, why would he tell us that? He's telling us that because he knows it's going to revalue at some point in time. And I think he's the key player that says, okay, Iraq, it's time. And I believe that every country right now is working on a stable coin. I believe Iraq is doing it. I think Iraq is going to go digital. So when we RV, you'll probably get paid in RLUSD, is my belief. When you go into, I don't know whether it's going to be a bank or a redemption center or anything like that, but when you go in to redeem your currencies, you'll more than likely be paid in RLUSD. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Johnny. We'll circle back to you if we have some time, but I just want to get through some of these questions here real quickly. Okay. So there's a second part to Red Hat's question that we asked earlier. It says, if there is time for a second question, can you explain the Genius Act and its importance or not to XRP and XLM? Thank you.
Yeah, the Genius Act it does a framework on stable coins. It doesn't have anything really to do with XRP because XRP is not a stable coin. RLUSD, however, is a stable coin. And what that bill is going to tell you is every one of those tokens, I think there's 517 million RLUSD at this time. They mint a little bit every month, but right now there's 517 million of them. So what that means is they have to have treasury bonds in their account to back those tokens. And that's what I was saying with Tether. Tether doesn't have any accounting. RLUSD has an accounting every month that you can go in and look at it, and it says, okay, there's 517 million tokens out there, and here's 517 millions worth of bonds backing it up. Tether, on the other hand, does not. So this Genius Act is designed to get rid of the tethers. Tethers won't be able to operate here in the United States after the Genius bill passes. Same way with Europe. Europe passed it's called the MICA bill, and they passed this bill probably about 3 months ago, and it eliminated Tether from doing business in the EU, which right now, just in the last couple of days, Ripple has applied for a MICA permit so they can take their RLUSD right now to Europe. And Germany and Brazil, there's a couple of other countries that have created a stable coin, and it runs on the XRP ledger. All 5 of them do. There's 5 or 6 different tokens that run on the XRP ledger right now. So that's given value. Every time you use the XRP ledger, it gives value to XRP. It makes it more valuable. And that's kind of what you're seeing with the $2.87 or whatever it is. It's growing as we speak. A week ago, you could buy XRP for $2.20. There's usually some magic that happens on July 13th. July 13th was a day that Judge Torres came out and stated that XRP was not a security. And then we also seen ISO 20022 compliancy. It actually enacted on July 13th as well. It was at 9 o'clock on July 13th. It was a Sunday. So it didn't really do much until the 14th when they had to be compliant, and it went live at 9 o'clock in the morning. Also, something everybody's forgetting. I think very soon we're going to see a very special person come on board. And today's his anniversary of his plane crashing.
And guess who that might be, everybody? Okay, all right, here's another question. Are you there, Troy, or did we lose you?
Oh, I'm still here.
Okay, all right, here's another question from Greg. Excuse me. Cold wallets being pushed hard everywhere on social media. I hold all my crypto on Uphold. Would rather take the 115 and buy more XRP than the cold wallet. Has something changed in the last few months on holding on exchange, like Uphold versus cold wallets, or is it fear porn? I believe it's fear porn, but go ahead, Troy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I bought a LEPAL Titan, so I have the ability to move my coins if I'd like to. And the reason I bought an LEPAL Titan is it doesn't hook to the internet. I got very mad at Coinbase. It still sticks in my craw that they didn't give me my Songbird. But anyway, that's besides the point. I moved my XRP from Coinbase onto an LEPAL Titan. Then I quit buying from Coinbase. Obviously, I had to quit buying from Coinbase because they delisted XRP when the lawsuit went into effect. However, Uphold never did. They didn't delist XRP. You could buy it on there. And Uphold has done everything and way more for me than any other exchange. I hold every XRP that I've ever bought on Uphold is still on Uphold. And it's not in the vault. It's right on the exchange. And some people call me crazy, but I think there's something special about Uphold. They are the only exchange out there that has a direct partnership with Ripple. I could see Ripple purchasing Uphold here in the very near future. Once they become a bank, I think they're going to buy Uphold, and maybe sooner than they get that as well. There is rumors going around Twitter that that Ripple is going to buy Swift, and if that happens, you better have your rocket shoes on, because that XRP is going to skyrocket.
Thank you, Troy. Okay, here's another one from Adrian B. If the stock market is going away and banks may close, what instrument aside from crypto and precious metals would be safe? Are treasury bonds a safe option?
Yeah, I think they're a safe option, but I don't know that treasury bonds are going to go up and down in value. I think it might be a stable kind of a stable coin type of deal. I'm not going to invest in anything like that. But when I'm investing today, obviously everything that I invest today is going straight into XRP because it hasn't mooned yet. It hasn't even hit its all-time high. Since I've been in the crypto market, Bitcoin has probably hit its all-time high probably 20 or 30 times, because I got into buying crypto when Bitcoin was about $17,000. So if it went to 17,001, there's an all-time high, and it dropped back down, come back up to 2,000 or 18,000, another all-time high. Our last all-time high was in 2017 at $3.84. We're due for some really good news and some all-time highs, and I think those are coming really quick. There's some influencers out there that are saying at $3.65, buckle up, because it's going to the moon right after it passes $3.65. And I could see that happening maybe Thursday, tomorrow.
Wow.
Because they are going to vote whether to drop this appeal on Ripple. And if they do, that means all the institutions are going to be smiling. They got a green light. They got a green light from Jerome Powell. But they're still kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for this appeal to drop. Once that happens, I think we get an announcement maybe tomorrow that they're going to drop the appeal, and then on Friday we're going to have a settlement, which Ripple's going to pay the SEC their $125 million, and it's going to be over. And I can see Donald Trump sitting at his desk signing the Genius Act on Friday. And if that happens, wow.
Let's go. That would be cool. Tomorrow's my anniversary for the podcast, fifth season. So that would be huge. Okay, real quickly, Stacy Caputo, I would suggest, and Troy will probably say the same thing about transferring your wallet or something from Coinbase. You can probably go on YouTube to look into that. So I would definitely go to YouTube. Troy always says there's a bunch of YouTube videos that you can look onto that. Okay, from Joni. Hi, Troy and Jenny. Did you see Dave XRP Lions post on Friday? If so, what are your thoughts? Thank you. I did not. Troy, did you?
No, I did not, but I do follow him, so I just haven't seen it yet.
Okay, thank you. And then this last question on the wall, and then we'll go to you guys here on the front side from Patriot Foot. Thank you, Jenny and Troy, for your time today to inform us. My question is, when the stock market does shut down, when the stock market does its downturn as well as Bitcoin, do you think the ISO 20022 cryptos such as XRP will drop as well? You are awesome, and I realize it's not financial advice, but your info shared is great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't see the stock market crashing. I think it get tokenized. It's going to get tokenized. Obviously, there's some companies out there that are way overvalued, and what tokenization does, it cleans up the whole mess. I've talked about GameStop and I've talked about AMC. I think AMC and GameStop is going to shed some light on short selling. Donald Trump right now owns a company called, I think it's DJT, Digital Assets, or I don't even know what it's called. But they're short selling that like nobody's business. I think you're going to see, rather than the stock market really go down, I think you're going to see companies like Citadel go down. The big hedge funds that are shorting all these stocks. I think they're going to clean that mess up, and then I think you're going to see the stock market just go screaming with all these tariffs and everything going on. There's going to be companies moving to America like in droves. You know, something interesting yesterday, and you might take this into consideration. I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own research. Donald Trump is going to put a tariff on pharmaceutical companies that come in from out of the United States. Now, if we think back, what did Donald Trump do when he was in office the first time? Jenny, do you know what he did?
A lot of things.
Jenny, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. A lot of things, but specifically to what you're talking to about, no. Go ahead. Can you hear me, Troy?
Sorry, my blue mic came on. Yeah, what he did was he gave Kodak 500, I think it was $588 million. What are they doing over there with that $588 million? I believe they're making med beds. Think about that for a minute. And you know, one thing Kodak did when they were in business, they were a little bit behind the eight ball with the phones coming out and the cameras on the phones and all that stuff. One thing they invented though was an invisible ink. And all that ink was on those ballots that were cast in 2020. They know exactly where all those ballots went, and they got an invisible ink that's on them. So Kodak is going to play a big picture in this, I believe, when these med beds come out, or maybe they're making some pharmaceutical stuff over at Kodak. But their plant that they were building for this new run out is going to be opened here, I think, in the next couple of weeks. So, and it's ironic that Donald Trump is going to put a tariff on pharmaceutical companies. So let's hold on for the next couple of weeks and see what happens.
That's huge. Thank you for sharing that. I do remember Kodak. Yes, I remember all that. So thank you. It's coming back around. Okay, Nancy, up here, you've requested a mic, so go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Okay. Well, you might have answered it already. I have some XRP that I bought through Coinbase. I thought somebody tried to hack it, so I disconnected it from my bank account. So I hope it's still there, but I want to move it out of Coinbase because of what you said, Troy. And so just go to YouTube and see how to do that.
Where are you wanting to move it to? Are you wanting to move it to another exchange like Uphold?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what you're indicating is a good place.
That's exactly what I did. When the Flare network dropped their Spark tokens, I moved every one of my Spark tokens over to Uphold. And the reason I did that, and here's another good thing with Uphold, they delegate it and wrap it every month. So I don't have to do any of that. They do it for me, and I get my rewards on my Spark tokens every month, and at their expense. They're doing all the legwork for it. I don't have to do a thing. Okay. So yeah, I would suggest, if you want to move that, and this is exactly what I did. I went into YouTube and I typed in, I said I wanted to move my XRP or my Flare over to Uphold, from Coinbase to Uphold, and it gave me a whole nice video, several videos that I watched. Obviously, the first time I did it, I just sent a little bit of Flare over there, and it came through. They show you how to copy and paste and send and receive. So yeah, just go on Coinbase or not Coinbase, I'm sorry, YouTube, and type that in, and they'll have several videos. And
okay.
the nice thing about YouTube is they show you which buttons to push. They're doing it right there in front of you. Now, there's a video on how you do it. And I'm really a kind of a visual guy, and I've learned a lot on YouTube.
Yes. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
you know, I think that sounds like what I ought to do, plus probably buy some more if I can. But
Thank
it's
you,
not
Nancy.
connected to the bank account anymore, so I don't know if I'd do that first, but YouTube will tell me.
Thank you,
They
Nancy.
sure
Thank
will.
you, Troy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Troy, how you doing on time? I've got about 1, 2, 3 more hands here.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Kathy G, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Kathy G. Your mic is unmuted. Okay. Stacy Lisa Lightworker, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for the future. Med beds. Oh my gosh. I pray for med beds. My question is, why does nobody ever talk about TMTGW, no, DWAC, which is now DJT. Is it skyrocketing? And how is it connected to everything else?
Is that Donald Trump stock?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the reason it's not, it's kind of up and down is because the hedge funds, like I said earlier, they're shorting it. And when we tokenize everything, you won't be able to short sell. Well, you'll be able to short sell, but you won't be able to naked short sell. And what people don't understand is when you naked short sell something, there are no stocks out there. Say I own a company with 1,000 stocks. What they're doing is they're creating stocks out of thin air, and that's going to stop. Citadel and all these hedge funds that are doing this are going to go bankrupt, because when you naked short sell something, there is unlimited losses. Right now, I own a few shares of GameStop. What that means is once it starts to squeeze, Citadel has to come up with the shares, and they have to come up with those shares at any cost. They have to deliver them, but they haven't been delivering lately. But Donald Trump's going to fix that as well. So once we tokenize the stock market, they're going to have to deliver these stocks, and then they're going to find out they don't have it. There is no stocks, and they're going to come up walking up my driveway. I can see Ken Griffin walking up my driveway, and I think I have about 12 shares of GameStop. And he's got to buy them at whatever cost I want. I want $1 million a stock. He's got to pay it. Otherwise, the Citadel gets liquidated. In order to save their ass, they have to buy every stock and deliver it. Does that make sense? Then that's what they're doing to Donald Trump. They don't want to see him succeed, so they're short selling his company. And this has happened for years. Look, let's just take Toys R Us for example. What they do is they infiltrate the higher up in Toys R Us. Their managers, their CEOs, and they start mismanaging. They short sell it first when it's high, when the price is high. They start short selling it. They get their people in place, and then they just mismanage the hell out of it. And then what happens is, as Toys R Us goes bankrupt, and they don't have to pay any of that money back. All of it's free. Bain Capital, I think that was that Mitt Romney's company? They bankrupted Toys R Us by doing just that. If you're buying Toys R Us shares, you have a big influence on who manages the company. So that's what they would do. They'd buy a bunch of Toys R Us shares, they'd put their people in place, and then they would mismanage it and start short selling it, naked short selling it. And once they go bankrupt, it's bankrupt. The money is gone. It's in the politicians' hands now, or whoever short sold it. They made all that money. However, if that company recovers, if Toys R Us recovers, they are in deep shit, because they have to now buy all those stocks back at whatever price. And GameStop, they thought they could bankrupt GameStop because it was kind of a dying business. And with COVID, nobody was getting out to buy anything. So they naked short sold GameStop to no end. I mean, there is just tons and tons of shares that aren't there. And GameStop turned the tables on them. They came out and they've got $9 billion in their account. You're not gonna bank a company that's got $9 billion. They are scared to death. Once GameStop starts to squeeze, I can see GameStop going to $500 just super fast. So that's a little bit on how the stock, and when we tokenize the stock market, that won't happen because they won't be able to artificially create stocks. There's only 100% of the stocks. You can't have any more. You can't have 120% of something. It doesn't work. There's only 100% of it to have. And right now, there's probably 500% out on GameStop. So some of these companies aren't going to be able to buy those stocks that they have to have, and they're going to get liquidated. Hopefully that answered your question a little bit.
Thank you, Troy.
Well, I didn't hear you mention DJT stock.
Isn't that Donald Trump stock? That's what I was talking about.
Okay, well, I love Toys R Us, and I love you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
You bet.
All right. Real quickly, I had something come through, Troy, and we can look into this, but it was just saying that And we'll look into it, but maybe you guys can look into it as well. About, did anybody hear Trump speak about Jerome Powell? Because I just got something that came through that says President Trump drafts letter to fire Federal Reserve Chairman or Chair Jerome Powell. Anybody know about that? It's from the New York Times reports. I think that's their shyster reporting, but I don't know. Do you know that to be true, Troy? Have you heard anything on that?
Well, Donald Trump has been coming out and saying they need to fire. He's going to fire Jerome Powell. So I haven't seen anything official on paper, but that could very well happen.
Okay. All right. Let's pay attention to that, everybody, because if that is the case, that would be huge. All right, Terry W., your mic is
Well,
unmuted. Go ahead.
hold on. Let me just back up for 1 second here. Donald Trump does not have the authority to fire Jerome Powell. The only way he could fire Jerome Powell is to get rid of the Fed. Think about that for a minute, because the Fed is not a federal agency at all.
Well,
Think
yeah,
about
it's
that for a
just
minute.
it's President Trump drafts letter to fire Federal Reserve Jerome Powell. So he's drafting a letter supposedly. So let's kind of see how that pans out, because if that happens, right, Troy, that's huge.
I think what he's telling you is he's going to get rid of the Fed.
And that's what we're waiting to see. Correct?
Absolutely.
All right, Terry W., your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, I have XLM on Lobster. Is it okay to keep it there, or should I move it to Uphold?
Well, if you're capable of moving it to Uphold, I would suggest, yes, that you do that. I'm not a big fan of the Lobster wallet. I think if you own XLM on the Lobster wallet, you're probably safe. That's what the wallet was designed to do. But just to be safe, I would get it off of the Lobster wallet. If it was me, I do have a Lobster wallet, and I had $450 on it, and I hit the wrong button and bought some coin that I'd unintentionally tried to buy, and the next morning my $450 was gone. So it's a very touchy deal there, and there's so many scams over there. A lot of people have lost a ton of money over there. So I try to talk against the Lobster wallet. So my suggestion to you would be to either get it back into your bank account or off of the Lobster wallet onto Uphold, or a more safe place that you can probably sleep a little better at night.
Yeah, but like you said, Lobster Wallet was created to hold XLM, correct?
Yes, it's a Lobster wallet. Yes. I mean, it's a Stellar wallet.
Right. Okay. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Has all real estate been tokenized yet?
Not that I know of, but it's coming. They're starting it right now in Dubai. I think Colombia's been doing it for several years now, but it's coming to the United States really fast.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
bet.
Terry. Thank you, Troy. And everybody, Troy typically gives us an hour's time, and we gave us an extra 5 minutes. So, Troy, we'll see you back. I don't know. We're typically coming on. We're trying to get you on about every 2 weeks, but I think you're coming on more as the information comes out. So maybe we can see you back in 2 weeks, because I think we're seeing a lot more information come out than normal.
Jenny, I see two more blue hands. I can answer two more questions, and then we'll go.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me unmute him. Go ahead, Texas Sunflower. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Texas Sunflower. Your mic is unmuted.
Thank you, Jenny. Hey, Troy. I have a quick question, only because it's been popping up a lot on TikTok, and I'm trying to understand it. And I'm assuming these are just fake accounts, but they're saying take your coins out of the exchanges and not in cold wallets. And I've looked to see what the decentralized wallets are, and I'm not too crazy about those. And then I saw another TikTok that said, don't take your money off the exchange. Actually, he didn't say that. He didn't say where to put it, but he said, don't put it on the cold wallets, because then you're going to freeze your XRP and not be able to take it out of your cold wallet. And I'm pretty sure they just want to manipulate people and move them in the direction that their scam is. But just any thoughts on the craziness?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the other exchanges other than Uphold. Uphold, like I said, Uphold has done everything they said they would do for me and way, way more. However, if I was on Coinbase, like I told you earlier, I moved all of my stuff off of Coinbase and moved it onto an LA Pal Titan. I moved my Flare from Coinbase over to Uphold. And if you're really scared about this, I would suggest maybe, and especially if you're new to this, probably Caleb and Brown would be a good fit for you because they assign you a broker. And that broker, if you have coins on Coinbase or Uphold or on a hard wallet or soft wallet, they'll show you how to move those over to Caleb and Brown. Like I said, you'll have a body that talks to you and shows you how to do this. The other company that I like is I Trust Capital. Now, that you can talk to a body over there, but you have to set up an appointment and all kinds of good stuff to get it to actually physically talk to somebody over there. I Trust Capital, I told you earlier that it's a cash in, cash out type of account, which is a great idea. You can't move them to a cold wallet from I Trust Capital. You can only cash in. You cash in, you buy XRP, you can only cash out into your bank account. So if somebody wants to hack your account over at I Trust Capital, all they could do was get you out of the position you're in Uphold and cash your XRP out and back into your bank account. So one day you wake up with your money in your bank account. So I think that's a good thing.
Thank you, Troy. I appreciate you. Thank you, Jenny.
You bet.
Thank you, Texas Sunflower. All right, everybody. Troy gives us, like I said, he gives us typically an hour, and we gave us an extra 10 minutes. So, Troy, I want to say thank you for coming here. We'll get you back on. I'll talk to you in the backside, see when we can get you back on, because I know you have a day gig as well. So with that, everybody come back at, let's see, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Rob Cunningham over on my X Space, and then 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Silk over on my X Space tonight as well. So Troy, once again, thank you for all your wealth of knowledge. I truly appreciate you, and I know many others do. So we'll see you hopefully back here in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, we'll get something worked out.
All right, sweetie. Have a great day, and everybody, God bless you. God bless you. We will talk to you on the next show, which is going to be for Rob Cunningham. Thanks, everybody. God bless. Have a great day.